Well, you've seen them on our show individually, but today we are delighted to bring them together. Both of these vibrant female figures, Representative Debra Wasserman Schulz and multi-talented Fran Drescher.
Both women have been personally affected by cancer, and today they're going to discuss what health care reform legislation means for breast cancer patients. Ladies, it really is an honor to have you back. Thank you.
Thank you. Delighted to be here.
Thank you very much.
Well, start off by telling us a little bit about this legislation.
Sure. Well, health care reform passed on March 23rd of this year, and what it did for women is remarkable. First of all, being a woman will no longer be a pre-existing condition.
There you go.
I mean,
There's a concept.
The first piece of good news is prior to the passage of health care reform, as a woman, you had an average of 30% to 50% higher healthcare premiums than men did, simply because of the extra things like childbirth and other things that women go through in terms of their healthcare. Beyond that, for women, we will no longer, for anyone, but for women this is great news, we will no longer have insurance companies denying us for a pre-existing condition or being able to drop us when we're sick.
I can't wait for that to kick in, because you know it's an anxiety once you've had cancer.
Right.
You know, you think, oh my God, who's going to insure me?
Right. And why shouldn't I be insured?
Well,
you know,
certainly.
let's start with that. What about preventive care?
Preventative care is also another significant benefit for women, because there are so many screenings like mammography, colonoscopy, that ultrasounds through copays or deductibles. That's been an obstacle for so many women, and they couldn't afford those copays and deductibles. Now, with healthcare reform, those preventative screenings are going to be free of charge.
And you know what I think is really going to be significant is that once this really begins to kick in and we start seeing the benefits of it, we'll be able to more successfully turn around our thinking of being so back-end focused. That's where, right, you know, after you're sick, then you start dealing with the problem, which is something that comes from a health community that's driven by big business health insurance. Rather than teach us how to live preventatively, rather than pre-screen people early so that they can catch it on arrival, they just wait until the people get sick on the back end, because that is actually cheaper to deal with those people than to make sure everybody is healthy on the onset.
Speaking of that, I do want to talk a little bit more about expense, because one of the things that we've talked about with you, Fran, is that, yeah, you're Fran Drescher. You know, you've got access to the best doctors, you've got access to great medical care. Not everybody has that luxury. So let's talk a little bit about expense for the average woman, for the underprivileged woman, for the poverty-stricken women, because this can happen to them as well, obviously.
47 million people don't have health insurance in America. 47 million. It's just unbelievable. And so that means when they're sick, they can't afford to go to the doctor. Never mind all the millions of young people who already think they're invincible and who don't even bother, and they let it go. They don't buy health insurance, and they really probably can't afford it. So when they do get sick, when they get hit with an unexpected illness, they don't have health insurance coverage, and then we are all paying. So it drives up the cost of health care overall. But what we did with health care reform is we made sure that everyone is now covered. Everyone has the access that they need, and that's absolutely critical to bringing down costs, because when you're focusing on wellness and prevention instead of dealing with a problem once someone is already sick, obviously caring for them once they're ill costs a lot more than trying to make sure that you catch whatever it is that might be wrong with them early.
And Fran, you're also doing something great with your Fran vans.
Yes,
helping people that can't get maybe a mammogram and can't afford the ultrasound. Tell us about that.
Yes, well, the Fran Vans is a program from Cancer Schmancer that I'm very proud of, because presently, as you say, there are women that are just kind of disconnected and unable to get the kind of help that they need. More often than not, low-income women are diagnosed in the late stages, and most of them do die, and it does have a terrible impact on their families as well as the community. And so the Fran Vans will roll into neighborhoods like ice cream trucks, and they'll be really friendly and inviting, and a woman can get a free mammogram, she could get a free pap test, and if, God forbid, there's something wrong with her, there'll be a volunteer patient navigator, which will help her to figure out where she goes, what avenue she has to take to continue along the path of getting the help that she needs. So, you know, we're very proud of this because we have to kind of all pull together. And I think that this is a perfect example of what is very necessary in today's economy is the combination of the public and the private sector. We can't depend on government to do everything, nor can we expect to have the private sector be responsible for everything. But the combination of the two, locking elbows, is really going to, I think, ultimately ensure a much healthier, happier nation.
You know, the thing is, and I look at you and I think, you know, and I don't see the actress, I see the person, you know, as you sit here in front of me. And what I find interesting is both of you, you know, are advocates on Capitol Hill, and you all work together. But how did you meet? How did this union form?
Well, we both are really passionate about making sure that we can raise awareness and give women the knowledge that they need. We met several years ago at a political function.
It was shortly, I think, after you were diagnosed with breast cancer and had your surgery. And really, you know, that is a club that, you know, it's a tough initiation.
Sure.
And actually, Fran, I did not share my story publicly until I was all the way through with my treatment. And Fran was actually the first person outside of my close friends and family that when we met, she's such a, I mean, through her advocacy, she really made me feel like I could connect with her. And it was basically, hi, nice to meet you. And let me tell you what I've just been through, and I'd love to work with you. And she immediately embraced me, and we made a commitment to each other to work together, and we have been on the trail together ever since.
Debbie is a real rising star on Capitol Hill, and the fact that she has taken what happened to her and parlayed it into something that all women in the United States can benefit by is so invaluable to us, and it's the definition of what you know, a person that serves the public, an elected official, should be. And so for someone like me who's very active on Capitol Hill and always trying to present initiatives that are for the greater good, for raising awareness, for getting monies appropriated and stuff, it's so, you know, wonderful and such a relief that there's somebody like her up there who's an ally of women, who understands what it's like to go through something like this, and can really help to try and push through a bill. And in fact, we're involved in another initiative right now called the Safe Cosmetics Act of 2010, and that basically covers all personal care items, from the formaldehyde in baby shampoo to the lead in lipstick to all the stuff that's in, like, the men's XXX antiperspirants. I mean, more and more men are getting breast cancer, and so this initiative will help to identify the more than 80% of each product that we use. Presently, the FDA really does not have an idea of whether they're a carcinogen, whether it's safe to take, and in what quantities it's safe to take it. So this would help really ensure that the FDA can function at a higher capacity so that we can start, as consumers, making better choices for our families.
Fran brought that bill to my attention when she was lobbying on Capitol Hill, and you know, if you think about it, the skin is the largest organ, and we think nothing of applying just about anything to our skin, and no one realizes. I mean, Fran is really, she deserves a tremendous amount of credit for championing this cause, because when she brought it to my attention, I had not really thought about the fact that most of these products are not reviewed by the FDA. We wouldn't ingest anything that was medicinal without knowing that the FDA had signed off on it. So how are we applying things to our skin with pores that absorb everything without knowing that, that the products are safe?
You know, right now it's a self-regulating industry, which is basically the fox guarding the hen house. Who's kidding who?
I want you to know that I'm glad you both met.
I am too.
I'm glad you both are doing great. You are a dynamic duo on Capitol Hill, and I can sleep at night knowing you're taking care of us. Thank you so much.
Girl power.
There you go. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And for more information, please visit wassermanschultz.house.gov, and the other one is?
Yeah, I love to say it, cancerschmancer.org.